Have you ever noticed that sometimes the most attractive men don't even have to try? They ask a single question, and suddenly a woman leans in, opens up, and feels a pull she can't explain. It's not about looks. It's not about money. It's about asking the kind of questions that reach past her guard and spark desire right where she feels it most. Most men never figure this out. They stick to surface talk. They joke. They compliment. They tell stories about themselves, hoping to impress. And what happens? She nods. She smiles. But nothing changes inside her. Deep down, she feels nothing. And that's why she drifts. But here's the shift. Desire doesn't come from you telling her how great you are. It comes from guiding her to reveal the parts of herself she usually keeps hidden. When she shares something raw, something vulnerable, something she wasn't planning to say out loud, you become unforgettable. Because you're no longer just another man in the room. You're the man tied to her most private feelings. That's the real strategy. 10 simple questions that bypass her defenses, touch her imagination, and create an attraction she can't shake. Questions rooted in psychology, sharpened by Stoic discipline, and carried with calm masculine energy. And once you know them, you'll never look at conversations with women the same way again. Let's get into it. Number 1. The man she never forgets. Every woman has one. A man she can't erase from memory, even if he wasn't the best choice for her life on paper. He may not have been the safest, the most stable, or even the most polite. But something about him lingers, an energy, an imprint that she can't shake. That's the question that flips the switch. Who's the man you could never forget, even though he wasn't good for you? It's a question that doesn't sound like a line. It doesn't try to impress. Instead, it forces her to dive deep into her memory, to pull up an experience she thought she had buried. And here's the secret. As she relives that memory, the emotions attached to it don't just sit in the past. They come alive in the present. And because you're the one asking, those emotions start to attach to you. Let's bring this down to real life. Michael, 45, had been dating Laura, 43, for a few months. Things were fine, comfortable, but not electric. Laura seemed guarded, polite, always keeping the conversation on the surface. Michael tried compliments, jokes, even sharing stories about himself, but nothing broke through. Then one evening, while sitting outside after dinner, he asked her quietly, "Who's the man you could never forget, even if he wasn't the right one for you?" At first, Laura froze. She laughed nervously, looked away, tried to deflect. But then, something shifted. Her voice softened. She started talking about a man from her past who made her feel alive, even though the relationship was chaos. She spoke about late nights, reckless decisions, and the intensity she couldn't replicate. And here's the key: Michael didn't interrupt. He didn't judge. He didn't compare himself. He just listened. Calm, still, stoic. By doing that, he wasn't just learning about her past. He was tying himself to the exact emotional energy she was describing. Her body didn't separate the memory from the present moment. It blended the two. And suddenly, Michael wasn't just the man sitting across from her. He was the man connected to her deepest cravings. This is how memory works. It isn't logical, it's emotional. And when you guide her to revisit a memory tied to desire, intensity, or passion, those feelings come rushing back. Stoicism teaches us to avoid chasing illusions, but to understand them deeply. Epictetus said, "Man is not worried by real problems so much as by his imagined anxieties about real problems." In the same way, women aren't haunted by facts. They're haunted by the feeling a man once gave them. By asking this question, you don't create new chaos, you give her a safe space to re-experience it. The brilliance of this is in the simplicity. You're not bragging, you're not trying to outshine anyone, you're not even pushing for her to say something flattering about you. You're making her open a door in her own mind that she rarely touches, and once it's open, she can't close it the same way. Michael later told me that after that conversation, Laura was different. She leaned in more. She laughed easier. She touched his hand without hesitation. Nothing dramatic had changed in his behavior. What changed was how she felt around him, because he led her into her own memory and stood calmly in the fire of it. That's what makes this question so powerful. Every woman has that man she never forgets. And by asking about him not to compare, but to understand, you become the one she'll remember in the same way. So let me ask you, have you ever asked the kind of question that brought a woman's guard down instantly? If you have, share it below. He asked deeper. And here's the thing, this is just the first doorway. Once you learn how to open it, the other doors become easier, and the attraction that follows becomes harder to ignore. Number 2. The danger that pulled her in. Desire has a strange relationship with danger. Women might tell you they want safety, comfort, stability, and to a degree, that's true. But there's another layer, one most won't say out loud. It's the pull toward danger, not the kind that threatens her life, but the kind that threatens her control. When you ask her, what's the most dangerous thing someone ever awakened in you? You're not just asking about her past. You're asking her to uncover the spark she keeps buried. That danger is intoxicating because it mixes fear with excitement, risk with reward. It's the reason she might remember a reckless night years later with more intensity than 1,000 safe dates. Here's the psychology behind it. The body doesn't separate danger from desire. The same chemical cocktail, adrenaline, dopamine, tension, lights up her system. And when she recalls that moment, even just in conversation, her body responds as if she's there again. That memory becomes alive, and because you're the one guiding her into it, the electricity gets projected onto you. Now, this doesn't mean you try to be dangerous in reckless ways. That's childish. What it means is, you understand the paradox. Part of her is drawn to what feels slightly out of bounds, slightly forbidden, slightly too much. And when you hold the frame of calm stoicism while she admits it, she feels both the pull and the safety at once. That's where attraction grows strongest. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." This applies perfectly here. Her attraction to danger isn't about the external event itself. It's about the meaning her mind attaches to it. She doesn't crave chaos for chaos's sake. She craves the intensity, the sharpness, the sense of being fully alive in the moment. And when you understand that, you stop fearing her pull toward danger and start guiding it. The mistake most men make is either pretending danger doesn't exist or trying to play it out in childish, reckless behavior. One makes you bland, the other makes you unstable. The sweet spot is the Stoic posture. You can let her talk about it, admit it, even feel it again, while you remain grounded, calm, unshaken. That contrast is what makes the conversation unforgettable. Picture it. She leans back, remembering the moment someone once woke up, something wild inside her. Maybe it was a man who kissed her when she wasn't expecting it. Maybe it was the rush of doing something forbidden. Whatever it is, her body remembers. Her breath changes. Her eyes shift. And you don't rush to fill the silence. You don't tease or laugh or make it about you. You simply let her sit in it. And in that silence, she feels her craving move toward you. Because now you're not just a man asking a question. You're the man holding the space for her most dangerous memory, and that's rare. That's unforgettable. This is the paradox she'll never admit. Danger pulls her in, but safety keeps her there. When you embody both danger she can imagine and calm she can trust, you become the man she can't quite figure out, the man she wants to understand more, the man she feels when you're not even around. So if you've ever been the one who brought out a side of a woman she wasn't planning to show, I want to hear it. I awaken fire. And understand this, what starts with a spark of danger always opens the door to something deeper. And once that door is open, she won't forget the man who walked her through it. Number 3. her body's secret signals. Women may say one thing, but their bodies often tell another story. And if you know how to notice it, you'll realize that desire doesn't always come out in words. It comes out in small, secret signals she doesn't even realize she's showing. Here's where the right question works like a spotlight. What does your body do when you're attracted to someone, but you're trying not to show it? That's not a cheesy pickup line. That's not a surface-level icebreaker. It's a question that forces her to turn inward, to pay attention to the little giveaways she usually hides: her breathing, the way her pupils dilate, how she fidgets with her glass, or touches her neck without realizing. Let me give you a real situation. James, 51, was out on a quiet evening date with Monica, 46. They'd known each other casually for a while, but this was the first time they were alone together. Conversation was smooth, but Monica still had her guard up, polite, careful, not giving much away. Over a slow glass of wine, James leaned in slightly and asked, "What does your body do when you're into someone, but you don't want them to know?" Monica laughed at first, brushing it off. But then her eyes softened and she admitted, "I probably play with my hair, and I can't hold eye contact for too long." And the funny part? As she said it, she did exactly that. Her hand went to her hair and her eyes dropped for a moment. James didn't point it out with a joke. He didn't make it awkward. He just held the silence for a beat, looked at her calmly and said, "Interesting. You just did that now." That one moment shifted everything. It wasn't just about her words, it was about the awareness. By asking the question, James had her exposing her body's own secrets, and he became the man who noticed what others would miss. This is where attraction grows quietly but powerfully, because when you see her signals without mocking or exploiting them, she feels both vulnerable and understood, and that combination is rare. The Stoics understood this truth in their own way. Epictetus said, "We have 2 ears and 1 mouth so that we can listen twice as much as we speak." Replace ears with eyes, and the wisdom still applies. Pay attention more than you perform. Notice what her body says when her words stay guarded. That's where the truth lives. Here's the deeper psychology. The body betrays the mind. She may tell herself she's in control, that she's not giving anything away, but her body doesn't play by those rules. Her breathing, her posture, her gestures, they all speak louder than her words. And when you guide her to recognize those tells, she feels exposed, but in a way that builds intimacy instead of fear. James and Monica ended that night differently than they started. By the end, Monica wasn't guarded anymore. She leaned in, laughed easier, touched his hand naturally, all because he had shown her, with one well-placed question, that he could see past her words and into her signals. That's the essence of this part. Desire hides in plain sight. When you ask her to reveal how her body speaks, you become the man who hears what others ignore, and once she feels that, she doesn't forget it. So let me ask you, have you ever noticed the little signals a woman's body gave away before she said a word? If so, write it below. I read signs. And trust me, once you learn to see her body's truth, the rest of her guard begins to fall faster than you think. Number 4. The weakness she hides. Every woman has one, a soft spot, a hidden crack in the armor she shows to the world. She may appear confident, polished, untouchable. She may act like nothing gets to her. But deep down, there's always a weakness she protects. And when you ask her about it, you invite her to reveal something she doesn't share with just anyone. The question is simple but piercing. What's the secret weakness only someone truly special would notice about you? That's not a line. That's not flattery. It's a mirror you hold up for her to see herself differently. When you ask it, you're not demanding an answer. You're offering her the space to give you a gift. Because revealing a weakness isn't about logic. It's about trust. Here's what happens in her mind. First, resistance. She might laugh, brush it off, or dodge the question. But inside, gears are turning. Because whether she says it or not, She knows what that weakness is. She knows the soft point she guards, the part of her that doesn't match the image she projects. And once the question is out there, she can't help but feel the pull to share it with you. The beauty lies in how you handle it. You don't push, you don't dig, you simply wait. You stay steady, calm, present, and eventually, if she feels safe in your presence, she opens up. Maybe it's her insecurity about always needing control. Maybe it's how quickly she feels too much. Maybe it's the way she craves reassurance but hates to admit it. Whatever it is, when she voices it, she's doing something rare. She's lowering the mask, and you become the man tied to that moment of honesty. This is where Stoicism guides you. Seneca once said, "No man is more unhappy than he who never faces adversity, for he is not permitted to prove himself." Think about that. Weakness isn't something to mock or exploit. It's the place where proof of character lives. When she reveals her weakness, she's giving you a chance to prove your strength, not through dominance, but through composure. Most men fail here. They either rush to fix her weakness, turning the moment into therapy, or they laugh it off, making her regret ever sharing it. The Stoic man does neither. He accepts it. He doesn't dramatize it, doesn't minimize it. He lets her sit in the courage it took to say it, and by staying grounded, he shows he's the man who can carry that knowledge without losing balance. The deeper truth is this: her weakness isn't what makes her less, it's what makes her human, and the moment she connects that humanity to you, desire deepens. Because now you're not just another man she chats with, you're the one who saw past her surface. She'll remember that, not because of the question itself, but because of the way she felt when she answered it. Vulnerable but safe, exposed but unjudged, desired, not in spite of her weakness, but alongside it. That's the kind of intimacy that lingers. It goes beyond words, beyond attraction. It's the bond that turns a moment into memory, and a memory into something she can't forget. So if you've ever been trusted with a woman's hidden side, if you've ever felt the shift when she let you see the part she hides, share it below. I hold trust. And keep this in mind, every mask eventually slips. The man who stays calm when it does becomes the one she can't stop thinking about. Number 5. The thrill that feels forbidden. There's a reason why women talk about the one mistake they'd make again. It's not logic. It's not what's safe. It's the thrill of what feels forbidden. That edge where desire collides with risk is exactly where her memory burns brightest. The question that unlocks this is direct but devastating. What's the one thing a man did that felt dangerous, but you wanted more of it anyway? When you ask this, you're not just being curious. You're giving her permission to step into the tension she normally hides from. Forbidden desire is powerful because it forces her to feel two things at once: the fear of losing control and the rush of wanting to lose it. Let's bring this into a real example. Daniel, 48, met Erica, 44, through mutual friends. They'd been on a couple of casual outings, but the energy never felt more than polite. One night, sitting in a dimly lit lounge, Daniel leaned back and asked, "What's the one thing a man did that felt dangerous, but you wanted it more?" Erica froze for a second, then gave a slow smile. She admitted that years ago, a man had pulled her in for a kiss at a time she wasn't expecting it. It wasn't planned, it wasn't asked for, it felt wrong in her head but right in her body. "I knew I should have pushed him away," she confessed, "but instead, I leaned in. Yo." As she told the story, Daniel didn't laugh or tease. He didn't try to act like he was that man. He just nodded, stayed calm, and said, "Interesting, sometimes danger is beautiful." That one sentence landed harder than any joke or compliment ever could. Because here's what happened. Erica wasn't just telling Daniel a story. She was reliving it. And by staying composed, Daniel became tied to the very feelings she was remembering. That thrill, that rush of forbidden attraction, now had his face attached to it. This is where psychology and Stoicism meet. Seneca wrote, "We are always complaining that our days are few and acting as though there would be no end of them." He meant that people waste time pretending they'll have endless chances. Desire doesn't work that way. The forbidden feels powerful because it reminds her that chances aren't endless, that moments come and go, and if she doesn't lean into them, they vanish forever. When you ask this question, you're not promoting recklessness. You're not asking her to glorify chaos. You're simply guiding her into a memory where desire felt sharper than usual because it sat on the edge of what she thought she could allow. That edge is unforgettable, and when you're the man who brings her back to it, you're unforgettable too. Daniel later noticed Erica changed after that night. She leaned closer when they spoke. Her touch became more natural. The space between them felt charged, like she couldn't quite separate the memory from the man sitting in front of her. That's the lesson here. Every woman has something forbidden she secretly craves, not because she wants danger for danger's sake, but because she wants to feel alive, pushed, awakened. And the man who knows how to hold that conversation with calm discipline is the man she remembers. So let me ask you, have you ever been the one to unlock a side of someone they swore they'd never reveal? If so, write it below. I stirred his ear. And keep this in mind, forbidden thrills don't just live in the past. Once you've awakened them in her memory, they start bleeding into the present. And that's where attraction turns into obsession. Number 6. What she'd do if no one knew. This question strips away the rules, the judgment, the image she tries to keep in front of the world. It's the kind of question that opens a hidden door in her mind. What's the craziest thing you'd do if nobody would ever know it was you? The reason this works is simple. Most people live with the constant weight of appearances. She curates how she dresses, how she speaks, how she acts, always aware of how others see her. But desire doesn't play by those rules. Desire craves freedom. It craves release. And when you give her the space to imagine a world without judgment, you unleash the version of her she usually hides. At first, she'll laugh. She'll try to brush it off. But if you stay calm, if you just hold the question without pushing, her imagination starts to wander. She begins to think about it seriously. And that's when something shifts, because now she's not just talking to you, she's revealing the side of herself she never shows anyone. This is where Stoicism sharpens the edge. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts." By asking her to imagine what she'd do if nobody knew, you're inviting her to bring those hidden thoughts into the open. You're not asking for a confession, you're asking for honesty with herself. And that honesty, shared in your presence, becomes intimacy. The brilliance of this question isn't about the answer itself. She might say something playful, something wild, or something surprisingly tame. That's not the point. The point is, she's thinking about it with you. You become the man attached to her most secret imagination, the one who let her explore a fantasy without fear of judgment. Most men don't know how to handle this moment. They either push too hard, turning it into an interrogation, or they turn it into a joke, breaking the spell. A Stoic man does neither. He listens. He lets silence do the heavy lifting. He might respond with a simple, "That tells me something interesting about you." No judgment, no analysis, just calm recognition. And here's the deeper psychology. When she pictures herself doing something crazy in a world without consequences, the body responds as if she's already living it. Her nervous system lights up. Her breath changes, her eyes shift. The fantasy feels real, even if only for a moment. And because you're the one who invited it, you become inseparable from the feeling itself. It's not about pretending to be the bad boy or trying to shock her. It's about guiding her into her own mind, where her hidden desires live. And once she's opened that door with you, she can't close it without thinking of you. Seneca said, "Most powerful is he who has himself in his own power." That's your role here. You're not chasing her fantasy. You're not trying to live it out for her. You're simply the man steady enough to let her admit it. The power isn't in what she says, it's in the fact that she said it to you. That's why this question is unforgettable, because it gives her the freedom she craves while reminding her you're the one calm enough to hold it. So, if you've ever been the man a woman trusted with her wildest thoughts, let me hear it. I hold secrets. And know this: when you guide her into imagining life without judgment, you don't just spark desire. You become the man tied to her most dangerous freedom. Number 7. How she acts when desire hits. Here's the paradox about women and desire. When it hits, they rarely say it out loud. Instead, it leaks through in their behavior. They act one way, but their body is telling the real story. And if you know what to watch for, you'll see it before she ever admits it. That's where this question cuts through. How do you act when you start feeling attracted to someone but don't want to admit it? The brilliance of this question is that it forces her to reveal her own patterns. She might joke about it, try to brush it off, but the moment she describes what she does, avoiding eye contact, getting more talkative, touching her hair, you can almost guarantee she'll start doing it right in front of you. Let me bring this into a real-life picture. Thomas, 54, had been spending time with Rachel, 50, a co-worker he often saw at company gatherings. They'd always been friendly, but things stayed professional. One evening after a corporate dinner, they ended up sitting together at the hotel bar. The energy shifted quiet, a little more personal. In the middle of the conversation, Thomas leaned in with a calm smile and asked, "So tell me, how do you act when you're attracted to someone, but you don't really want them to notice?" Rachel laughed, rolled her eyes and said, "Oh, I probably talk too much, and I fidget with my glass." But as she said it, her hand spun her wine glass slowly, and she kept glancing down at it instead of holding Thomas's eyes. That was the turning point. Thomas didn't tease her, he didn't rush. He just observed, steady and calm, then softly said, "Interesting. You just did that now." Rachel's face flushed. She smiled in a way that said she'd been caught without defense. And in that exact moment, Thomas stopped being just a colleague. He became the man who saw through her guard. Here's why this works. Attraction is one of the hardest things for people to hide, because the body reacts before the mind can cover it up. When she tells you her tells, she's basically handing you the key to her own signals. And when you calmly point it out, she realizes she can't hide from you. That awareness builds a different kind of tension, one that feels both exposed and exciting. The Stoics understood this principle too, though in a different frame. Epictetus said, "It is impossible for a man to learn what he thinks he already knows." Most men think they already know how women act when they're attracted, so they stop paying attention. But the wise man watches closely. He doesn't assume he notices, and by noticing, he learns more than any guesswork ever could. For Rachel, that one question unlocked something deeper. The rest of the night, she leaned closer. Her laughter was softer, more personal. The shield was gone, and it was because Thomas gave her the space to admit something she normally hides. That's what makes this so powerful. You're not demanding she confess attraction to you. You're asking her to confess how she behaves when desire strikes. And once she does, you create the stage where her body starts to betray her words right in front of you. So let me ask you, have you ever caught the signs of attraction before a woman admitted it? Share it below. I notice first. And understand this, when you become the man who sees her truth before she speaks it, you're no longer just part of the conversation. You're part of the desire she's trying so hard to hide. Number 8. The mark a man leaves behind. Every man leaves a mark, but only a few leave one that lingers long after the moment is gone. That's why this question cuts deeper than most. What's the greatest impression a man has ever left on you? Notice how it's framed. You're not asking who left the mark, you're asking what. That distinction changes everything. Because the moment you shift from the man to the impression, You move the focus from another person to the feeling she still carries. And once she brings that feeling into the conversation, you're no longer competing with her past. You're anchoring yourself to the exact sensation that makes her weak. Here's why it works. Memory isn't about the facts. It's not about dates, names, or even details. It's about emotion. She remembers the way she felt in that moment more than she remembers the man himself. And when you ask her to describe it, her body reacts as if she's back in it. Her voice softens, her breathing shifts, her eyes drift for a second, and now that emotion is alive again, sitting right between the two of you. This is where Stoicism sharpens the edge. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "What we do now echoes in eternity." He was talking about action, but the principle is the same for desire. The actions of one man may fade, but the impression he left, the echo, remains. And when you invite her to describe that echo, you're tying yourself to it without having to prove or perform. Most men miss this entirely. They're too busy asking, "What did you like about him?" or "What made him special?" Those questions keep the focus on the man, not the impression. And the more she talks about him, the further you are from the center of her emotions. But when she talks about the mark, the way she felt claimed, seen, or alive, you're stepping into the imprint itself. Here's the subtle magic. The more she describes it, the more she unconsciously associates it with you. Because you're the one who made her recall it. You're the one who held the silence while she relived it. You're the one who nodded calmly, letting her see you weren't threatened or insecure. That confidence creates a new impression in real time, an impression she'll connect to the exact depth she just described. And it doesn't matter if the mark she remembers was years ago or tied to a man she no longer respects. Desire isn't logical. She may not even want that man back, but she still craves the impression he left. And if you embody it in your own calm, stoic way, you become the man who gives her what she thought she'd lost. Seneca once said, "Things that were hard to bear are sweet to remember." Think about that. Even painful impressions, moments that left her shaken or vulnerable, become sweet in memory if they stirred her deeply enough. That's why this question is so powerful. It doesn't just open her to pleasure, it opens her to the truth that intensity lasts longer than safety. And here's the part most men don't get. When you tie yourself to her memory of intensity, you don't need to prove yourself. You don't need to push or sell. You simply hold the space, calm and steady, while she fills it with the very desire she thought was gone. So let me ask you, have you ever been told you left an impression that lasted longer than you expected? If so, write it below. I leave marks. And know this, the man she forgets is the one who gave her nothing to feel. The man she remembers is the one who left a mark. Be the latter, and you'll never be erased. Number 9. The fantasy she won't admit. Every woman has one. A secret fantasy she won't say out loud, not to her friends, not to her partner, sometimes not even to herself. It's the daydream that slips in when she's alone, the one she pushes away because it doesn't fit the image she shows the world. And when you're the man who brings that into the light without judgment, without pressure, you become the one tied to her deepest hidden desires. The question that unlocks this is subtle but devastating. What's the fantasy you'd never admit to anyone? Now, at first she'll laugh. She'll call you bold. She might even say, "I don't have one." But her body will say otherwise. She'll shift in her seat, look away, maybe bite her lip. Because even if she doesn't speak it, the fantasy exists and she knows it. Let's ground this in a real situation. David, 52, had been dating Alison, 49, for a few weeks. She was smart, confident, and had lived enough life to know what she wanted. But something about her stayed reserved, like she was holding back. One evening, sitting on her porch with a glass of wine, David leaned in with a calm tone and asked, "Tell me something, what's the fantasy you'd never admit to anyone?" Alison laughed, shook her head, and said, "Oh no, that's too dangerous." But then she grew quiet. Her eyes softened, and after a long pause, she admitted a simple truth. She sometimes imagined being completely taken out of control, even though she always appeared in control to the outside world. David didn't push, he didn't joke, he didn't try to act out the fantasy right there. He simply nodded, let her words hang in the air, and said, "I think I understand you more now." That was all it took. From that moment forward, Alison's energy shifted. She leaned into him, trusted him more, opened up more freely. Why? Because he had just become the man she associated with the secret part of herself, the part she never told anyone else. Here's the deeper psychology. When a woman admits a fantasy, she's not just talking about desire, she's exposing vulnerability. She's showing you the crack in the perfect image, the shadow side she keeps hidden. And the man who can hold that without flinching